What's that competition all about that you're running downstairs?
So we've been involved or becoming involved with the A&P show, previously on just an exchange basis, goods for services, blah, blah, blah. But this year we've taken over running the photography competition, which we are judging, printing, and so on, which is a great marketing tool to begin with, but it also shows much more than our brand. It shows our willingness to commit and become involved with something meaningful to the community.
When's the winner drawn?
That's a good question. So we've still got a few days for people to enter, and between now and the 4th of Feb, we will be crowning the winners. So stay tuned.
Fantastic. We're talking with Aidan from Katipo Creative. He is one of the people that runs the company alongside his folks. Is that right?
That's correct.
How does the ownership structure work? Who owns the most, and do you own the least?
So I like to look at the efforts as a equitable venture where we're equal owners, equal operators. I look after the design, the IT, the marketing. My mum looks after the day-to-day, the accounts, the admin side of things. She does complain that I underplay her role, so just know that Kim is all of that and so much more. And my old man, he does the framing side of things, so his meticulous detail and DIY skills lend incredibly to what he does in framing. So that's our team.
So what are some of the main products and services and stuff that you offer?
Well, at heart, Katipo Creative Studio is a print studio. And we service all of the peripherals around that. So if you're looking to reproduce some artwork, we can do that for you, and then we can frame that for you also. Or if you're looking to create new branding, we can create the branding, the logos, the letterheads, the stationery, and then produce the stationery. So we have quite a wide range of services, but we're looking to expand further. So who knows what's on the horizon, really.
Oh, and what was it that attracted you and your parents to buying the business? Because it's been around for a while. I mean, it used to be called Katikopy with that 1980s logo outside, and looked like it hadn't been changed for about 30, 40 years, which is quite unusual for a print shop.
Yeah. So when we bought the business, we saw the potential. Previously, it had, I don't know, 3, 4 owners before us that did okay, but it wasn't really living up to what they potentially thought it could be. And I think that that's hugely to do with their expertise in the field and their vision for what print media can be. So when we first took over the company, which was in June of 2021, so in the midst of COVID, we really thought about what it is, why we were doing it, and where we could go with it. So when we first came in, there were print cartridges. ink cartridges lining the walls. And one of our thoughts was, why would you, as a print company, give the people the means to go home and do your job for you and leave you standing around? Now, obviously, there is like profiteering that could happen. However, it just didn't serve the people as well as what it could do. Where framing, for example, brings so much more joy to people's lives, as well as offering something that they really can't do for themselves, where you could get print cartridges anywhere, from the warehouse, from online. So why we took it over? We had a vision, we had the skills, and we had a reason to, as a family, to do something to break ourselves away from what was happening in the world at that time, which was global shutdown. Can we make things happen for ourselves? I think so.
Yeah, I think a lot of people as well probably failed to see before that perhaps the value in actually having your own operations and running your own small business and having more control over how things are going to be, because I think that first lockdown in particular, a lot of people woke up to the reality of that their job is nowhere near as safe as what they think it is at the end of the day, and there's so much just hanging on economic circumstances, so that even though your job may seem secure today, you could easily be gone tomorrow. I found it was actually the best thing ever, that first lockdown, because that's when my business really began to take off. I found more people reaching out for help with marketing work because they'd fired all their marketing department, or their marketer had been let go or had reduced hours and stuff, and they were just sort of looking to bootstrap it a little bit more. And it really opened up a real Pandora's box of opportunities that, I've kind of been riding on that wave ever since. And now that things are more back to normal, it does seem to, that attitude of like, okay, let's try and work as hard as possible to, make this work and make this viable. It's stayed on. Have you found it's the same thing as well for you, with things starting to normalize out a bit more?
Yes, essentially. So we didn't really find an uptake in business because of the situation at the time. In fact, that was what was killing the business, because it could not run on the established. You can't rest on your laurels in a time like that. And for us to come in and identify new things which could make money, didn't make money for some time before they began to. So when we took over, the business was going downhill, and going downhill fast, entirely due to the fact that people didn't really need to do printing anymore, because everyone was stuck inside. It was all emails.
That's probably when they wanted to go get all those cartridges off the wall there.
Yeah. But well, what we found was people wanted to enjoy something, and bringing something like framing, or using my design skills, Photoshop skills, to restore photography, that sort of thing. People found a lot more time for that in COVID, as opposed to the standardized business model at that time.
I'm interested to know a little bit more about the history of. Do you know exactly like the year Katikopy first launched?
I don't know the exact year, but I have tracked it a little bit, looking at the previous websites. on the old, timemachine.com or whatever.
Oh, the way back.
Yeah, it is. And I think it started around 2012. In that time, it existed quite happily, just as a print company, because back then things weren't quite as accessible as they are now. Printers, inks, and so on. Refillable cartridges, I don't know, existed back then. But anyway, over time, people found new endeavours. In fact, the people who started Shot Darts once owned this company and sold the darts out of this building. Other people came through expecting something that it wasn't quite, more of a solely design-focused business. And another person came through looking for just a happy day-to-day, which it certainly isn't if you're in the business of print. It's certainly been around for quite some time, and people know the name in the community, although they never spelled it right.
Do they always spell it with a C instead of the K?
Katikopy Print is definitely a C situation.
Oh, like Katikopy.
Yeah. We've had it all. Katikopy and Print. It's good to break away from that, and I think that's a really big part of what has made us succeed in this endeavour, is identifying those laurels as they are and avoiding those same mistakes, I guess you could say, where we're not looking to do something very specific, and in that, the necessity to rebrand to Katipo Creative Studio came about. And the rebrand has really benefited both the company and the community, because people weren't aware of what the capabilities are, which they really have been for quite some time. But marketing let the people down as to what you can really get out of the print area, I guess. So by shifting that focus, we've also allowed people into the possibilities of their own imagination. Rather than just get a photo framed, you can have that photo stylized, and it will become so much more than just that image. It will become a lasting memory. And not to mention the capabilities of the machinery that always have been, where people were stapling their 50 sheets of paper rather than having them bound by the machine for them. So the creative studio side of things is not just creative in terms of photo frames and paintings and art reproduction. It's how to go about creatively solving the problems that you face as a business, having to present reports to people. Do you want to be handed a stack of paper with a staple through it, or have an attractive booklet with a hardcover and a tidy set of leaflets?
Mm-hmm. I can almost read your mind when I say that I bet you the moment you saw that Katikopy sign outside, you were just like, boom, need to do a rebrand. Am I right?
Definitely. From day one, rebranding was on my mind. It wasn't at the top of the priority list, as I've mentioned, that if you want something to succeed, you need to give it depth. You need to flesh it out before it can really become the thing that you want it to be. So by filling the space with relevant and expertise or expert services, we've been able to springboard into rebranding. Rebranding in itself has greatly improved the intake, the revenue, because we are no longer limited by the name that was previously appropriate. So after 2 years of running a print shop, we had introduced framing, improved the design aspect, including things like restoration, as well as marketing and even art supplies. We noticed in this town, Mural Town, that the only other art supplies available were from variety stores or bookstores. And those art supplies aren't at the quality that Mural Town suggests. So by really delving into the depths of what the potential could be, we filled the niches necessary to create something worth marketing. So the business beforehand was a necessity. People need to get things printed, where now people are able to get the things printed, but they're also able to service those creative endeavors like creating a piece of artwork with the high quality supplies that we offer, and then reproducing that artwork to a high quality standard, and then putting that out there for the people to see. They can appreciate the value that is in the umbrella.
Interesting. And when it comes to the shop itself, in terms of like the layout, what's thinking behind having things placed in certain areas, and how does it, what we see now, how does that change from what you initially had when you first took it over?
So when we first took over, in all honesty, things were a shambles. There was not a lot of organization that went into the layout of the operation. The building itself used to be a bank, and in that bank there was a safe. That safe is moisture controlled, it's secure. So that is obviously the best place that you could put your stocks of paper, where beforehand the paper was not in that room. It was a little bit here and a little bit there, as well as the walls lined with cartridges and empty rooms and rooms filled with clutter. And so coming in, we were able to expand on those services because we could really see that these rooms available to us had a lot more potential than simply storage. So by streamlining the layout of the business itself, by using this little room over here for a small office in the intermediary means that we could do something with the room over here to build it up to become something of a shared workspace or an art space or just a general working space as opposed to another storage closet. As well as introducing things like gallery space. So with the negative space, as it were, what are you putting in there? So gallery space just is something that is attractive. It gives people a reason to come back because they know that they're going to be in a pleasant environment while they deal to whatever business that they have to attend to. So there's a number of aspects to the reorganization of the layout of the business or the building itself, which I think is just as important as the marketing itself. By building things from the ground up and then marketing that, you are giving people a reason to come back. So we might have our services filled out, but the business, the building itself is in a shambles. Well, people are going to see that, and that's going to reflect on the image of the business itself.
And obviously, being a town with an older population, it's got to be the first impression that they have of how you, because your shop is really how you're marketing yourself to the people that walk past it and walk in and all of those things. So it's like very often the first impression which they have of your business. And I think if you're in a smaller town, that makes a massive difference because people will walk into Katikopy or Katipo Creative as it is now, and they'll be like, right now, I remember going in there and it looks so much better than what it used to. And very often that's all that is needed to pique the interest of someone else who remembers the old Katikopy and wants to go in to have a look, and all of a sudden thinks to themselves, actually, I might benefit from having old photos touched up, from having some design work done or whatever it might be from them, because they've actually taken the effort to bring it in to the 21st century. And another way in which you've done that is with the website. I'm going to pull up the old website here, and for those that are listening to this, the old website is basically a pink rectangle, a yellow rectangle, and a navy blue rectangle with About Us, Services, Contact Us. It's so poorly designed that you have to scroll across and you can only see part of it. Locally owned and operated print and design studio in Katikati, range of services. Then it's got the services right next to it under the yellow one in bullet point form, and then it's got the contact information there. Pretty dire. And then if we come across to the new website here, which looks very lean and mean and clean.
Thank you.
So it's got all of the services that they offer, the design, arts, photography, framing, and it's got a nice photo to go with it, along with the branding colors and the business name and logo and all of that good stuff. And you can actually see it tells the story very well. People can know exactly what they're going to get from each service. And going into just one of the pages, we're looking here at scanning services. You've got the different types of one that are on offer as well. And quite conveniently, the contact information right underneath it. How much thought did you put into that side of it with the website? Because obviously that's going to be the main place people are going to find you. But I imagine to a lesser extent they'll find you on social media as well. But maybe we come to that after talking about like the website layout and design first.
So the website is our point to communicate the technical to the people. if you need to know something about what it is that you're going to go into, whether it's a business card or whether you're doing some brochures or a bit of framing or this or that, the other thing, I intentionally broke it down into 3 steps. So the general kind of category that something would fall into, whether it's business printing or personal or otherwise, and then within that you've got the things that relate to what it is. So business printing, business cards go into business cards. Then you've got the specs of what we can offer. So all of the technical information and otherwise is available in 3 steps or less. And I think that was a great point to focus on, where previously the website was 1 page. It alluded to a few services. It gave you a little bit about the people who own the place and some contact information, which just isn't enough when you have so much available to achieve.
How do you use social media to communicate what you do now?
Social media is completely different to the website. So the website's like really technical. Whereas social media, that's your opportunity to show off the things that you're doing that are cool, that are potentially viral. And by using that platform to promote other businesses and the projects that you're working on with other businesses, you're able to promote yourself in a way that is genuine. You don't need to try to appeal to the masses, because you're appealing to the people who care. You're appealing to the people who have an investment in what you're doing already. So by focusing on something else, for example, over Christmas of I think 2022, I used that to do the 12 days of local businesses, people that we had worked with extensively on various projects, or something that was meaningful. And in that I found the way in which we wanted to market ourselves socially. We're not here to profiteer and make money and do all these things that are without conscious or moral compass. We're here to do things that are fulfilling, that are contributing to the positive growth of the people around you, the preservation of memories, or the creation of new memories. So social media in that aspect has been great to really focus the attention to the creative as opposed to the technical.
Excellent. And we're just having a look right now through some of the recent social media posts which Katipo Creative has put up. And the thing that's really striking to me is that it's clean and it's visually appealing. It's the sort of thing that would get people's attention and make them want to stop scrolling through their phone. And obviously within the social media context, a lot of small town business owners can really benefit, really, if they're wanting to do, like, say, a digital marketing campaign where they're putting advertising dollars into getting more awareness. Having someone like Aidan help out with creating a good image or a good clean video, and then just running an awareness-based campaign to reach as many people in the town as possible, because that's all you need to really get that awareness going, is just make sure people can walk past your shop and see you, and see you consistently on different parts of the internet as well. So who are some of your clients around town?
We deal with quite a few of the businesses for various reasons. So, say, one business that I've worked with closely has been Katikati. So, working with them to market their initiatives to get more memberships coming in, and in doing so, kind of reverberating in the community by supporting the sponsors of those events as much as the business holding the event, as well as working with, say, the community centre on leading mural projects with the youth and the Arts Junction, for example, working with them, consulting on the board to steer the future of Katikati's image. There's quite a few notable projects that we've worked on with people, for sure.
Oh, good. I was at Katifit yesterday actually having a workout. I feel like the marketing's good. I think AC system needs a bit of love and attention. Real old school feel there. I like it though. I mean, I know it's not everybody's cup of tea, but I think it's good.
Well, there's a real old school feel in Katikati in general. Another one of the projects has been working with the Katikati RSA to rebrand away from RSA to the club. It's certainly been a rocky road, but it's hugely to do with the fact that Katikati has been Katikati and it hasn't needed to do anything for the past 40 years to be Katikati. Now that times are changing, we've got quite a few people who are uneasy with that change. And helping people through that change is something that we're absolutely doing on the, branding, marketing, and service side of things to up the standard of how people go about business, which not everybody is happy about, but it is a necessity because, as I've mentioned before, you might not like me, but you're going to hate the next guy when he comes through, buys the land from underneath you, and modernizes everything. So if we can modernize before we have to, it can only be a good thing.
Do you find that the thing of change is something that you found the hardest about marketing businesses in smaller towns where there's a bit more of a difference between the mentality people have here as opposed to, you were in Auckland before, weren't you?
Yeah. I did create marketing material which was directed by product managers and so on. So certainly got a feel for it, but changing into this environment which is far slower paced, but no less affected by the fast-paced economy of today, certainly brought to attention where things were lacking and urging people to get up to date with social media has certainly helped to solidify our status or place in the community.
So if I came to you as the Mayor of the Western Bay of Plenty and said, Aidan, we are going to give you a sizable budget to push and promote Katikati with the work that you do, how would you go about doing it?
So the first thing that comes to mind is we're on a state highway and we've got a lot of traffic.
State highway with one lane each way.
Exactly, yeah. So there's not a lot of option there. People are going to see you. So as I've mentioned, communicating within the awareness that you've got, the signage that you've got within the town as you enter the town. At the moment, it's dated. I am working with people currently, in fact, to change that. And that's one of the first things that I would identify as being a key factor in the success of the operation. What are people seeing as they enter the town? Are they enticed to stop and check things out? But then the identity of the town being mural town, you'd expect to see a lot of murals, which is another thing that I am, in fact, working with the Arts Committee to promote and progress. So if you're expecting to see murals, we should see them everywhere and a diverse range of things to look at, so that wherever you go, you've got somewhere worth stopping. That obviously takes a lot of time and money to do. So it's a bit of a piecemeal thing. But the first thing that you want to do, I would say, would be to establish or re-establish that status from the ground up. So before you replace the signage at the ends of the town and what events are happening down the main road with your billboards and so on, give the people the reason to stop. Revitalize those murals and market those murals as an activity within the town, and then move on to attracting the attention from other people. Prove your cause and then pull the people in.
Well put. I find it so unusual that they hadn't thought of that earlier, of having an updated sign. You look at some of these other cities, you look at some of these states in America. Have you ever seen that guy that ran 50 marathons in 50 days? He took
Forrest Gump.
No, not Forrest Gump. Dean Karnazes, ultramarathon man. He had these photos like outside every state sign. So when he crossed over, he had like welcome to Idaho, which is like the mountain state, and welcome to California, the sunshine state, the golden state, and welcome to Texas, the Lone Star state, and all that good stuff. And he actually had the photos of himself like smiling next to it. And I thought that was always like a rather clever way of reminding someone not just that they're crossing the border, but also that they're going into a unique part of the country, that it's something that's different and special and unique. And I think Katikati has a lot of potential with that, because I used to always just see it probably the same way that you did, as just like a pass-through town. And I drove through like the main drag, and it always looked really sort of old and dilapidated and that sort of thing. And it wasn't until my wife and I started looking for somewhere to live that we actually went off the main road and started exploring around a little bit more, and actually like, oh yeah, there's actually quite a few nice things that are happening here. Like, you've got some sports fields in really good condition, and then you've got the brand new library, which is excellent, and then there's like a couple of nice cafes all over the place. Did you do the Common Ground one?
I didn't do the Common Ground logo, but we have helped to solidify their branding in the style that they're going for by designing some menus and so on for them.
No, well, they definitely did a good job taking over from what was there before. That old one was very much like a 1980s kind of cafe, and now it kind of feels like it, to use your phrase, modernized before it needed to. Absolutely. And that's something which I think is really helpful with a lot of the things that Katikati has done recently, because looking through some like old photo books and albums and stuff, I'm glad I didn't look for a house here like say 50 years ago, because I would have been like, oh my goodness, there's like almost nothing here. It's just sort of avocado and fruit orchards and stuff. Whereas now, because they've had a bit of investment and stuff that they put into it, it's actually coming along quite nicely. And it kind of carries on into the next point, which is marketing in a small town. How do you market your business in a small town that's different from marketing in a city where the competition's much bigger? Like, are there big differences you've found and things that go a lot further in terms of investing time and money into?
That is a good question. You've got a lot of good questions. So the big difference is population, and in that population you've got your demographics. In Katikati in particular, there's a really large demographic of retirement age folks. And retirement age folks aren't really looking to the future. So you're absolutely right in that Katikati has been the same essentially for decades. With the globalization and so on that has happened quite recently, there has been a need to think about the future, which Common Ground has done really well. In fact, they won Hospitality Business of the Year 2022. The large or a driving force for change in Katikati in particular over these past few years has been the popularization and growth of tauranga, where it is filling up, and it's filling up fast. And between Auckland and Tauranga, you've got a few areas that are in turn growing, and Katikati is one of them. So in that, identifying the fact that, as I've mentioned before, if you don't like me, you're going to hate the next guy. Modernization has to happen. So urging the people to take that into account, that things aren't always going to be the same, has been probably the most difficult part, the biggest part of the marketing and the strategy there versus Auckland, which has always been going through change. The diversification of the identity, where it has been orchards for such a long time, and that has really been the backbone of Katikati and continues to be. But if you're going to have people living here, they expect a little bit more than the pub.
I didn't know they had so many cafes here. You know, there's one. It's like just down the road from you, upstairs there. There's Common Ground. There's Chrome Cafe. There's Robert Harris. I feel like there's another one I'm missing out. Probably the Talisman would count itself as a park cafe as well. It's
Sure.
like 5 cafes in a town of 6,000 people.
I think cafes certainly show the possibility for leisurely activity. If you've got leisurely activity like concerts in the park or art galleries and so on, you're doing something right. Where in the past it certainly has been bare bones, not a lot in the way of entertainment and so on, but that's certainly changing and growing. And the Arts Junction is one of those places that is pushing for that modernization, that growth, that change in direction of the town in general. So they work with Catch Katikati to organise and host events, concerts in the park, and the exhibitions, and even finding funding for new murals that have something to do with the town. For example, one of the new murals that's going up currently is a mural to dedicate to the legends of rugby from the town. Um, Rugby's big in any town that you go to in New Zealand, I suppose. But in particular here, as you mentioned, the well-kept sports grounds, it means a lot to the people, and it means a lot to New Zealand. So focusing on things like that are very wise in terms of how people see what you're doing, and again, deciding to come back.
And where can people find you, contact you, reach out to you if they need professional help with getting a business card or getting an old photo retouched or any of the other services you offer?
You can visit www.katipo Creative, Katipo creative.co.nz, and you can reach out about just about anything, and we will have something to say.
I normally don't do this on podcasts, but we've actually got a little bonus section here where we're going to break down in more detail exactly what went into a whole campaign for marketing by Katipo Creative. So Aidan's going to be talking a little bit about the 6-week challenge that he did with the Katifit gym and the who, what, where, why they did certain things. So over to you, Aidan.
Alrighty, so the first thing I did was talk with Jenna, who runs the gym, about upcoming events, how we can market those events, and the one that stood out is the 6-week challenge. That 6-week challenge was about getting people involved. So if you want people involved, give them a reason to be involved. Incentivize the things which mean something to them. And on top of that, you also get sponsors for prizes and so on. So in that, I identified a locality and how to play on that locality in terms of the challenge by creating loyalty cards as such and handing out different values of points that come with different values of spending at different businesses in the community. So you spend $20 at the fish and chip shop, that's another 2 points toward your outcome of your Katifit 6-week challenge venture. Now, obviously, you don't want to be eating fish and chips every week when you're on a fitness challenge. However, you have to have a cheat day. You know, there's more than one health than physical health. You've got to look after your emotional and mental health, and fish and chips certainly contribute to that. And in that, we want to also represent the people who are contributing to the challenge. So effectively marketing the people who are involved by appropriately using their logos, putting their business, their contact, their location up around the place for everyone to see. So that meant, in my world of print media, printing off many of these loyalty cards, the stickers, the posters as well that went up into the windows of the many sponsoring shops around the community. So everybody knew who was involved and where to find them. And I would say that it was quite a successful venture. And no social media needed, no internet needed. Your community is really what counts in that moment. Social media and so on definitely helps, but it's really focusing on the crucial part of the community and how to emphasize that. Loyalty.